Alright folks, today's video is all about how to beat the dreaded Stoneshaper class in Spellbreak. I've seen a ton of feedback from new players on Reddit, in the Discord, and in my stream about how OP or broken the Stoneshaper class is, and honestly, this isn't new. Every time we get an influx of new players to the game, they always struggle with fighting stone. So today, I'm going to give you all the tools you need to start clapping those earthbenders all throughout the Hollowlands. To do that, I'm going to go through several fights I had in a 16 kill, 2.5k damage win while playing Stone, and we're going to focus on what I call the 3 P's of winning fights in Spellbreak. That's positioning, patience, and pressure. We'll talk about these in more detail in the VOD analysis itself, but I want you to recite these before every engagement you get into in-game. But without further ado, let's hop into the analysis. All right, for the first fight in our VOD analysis, this is going to be a really short fight. There's not a lot to talk about here, but I really want to focus on the missed opportunities for positioning. You heard me talk about in the intro to the video, the 3 P's of fighting Stoneshaper, and that is positioning, patience, and pressure. The first P is the one that I think is really the most important, and it's something that I really want to highlight here. Let's watch through the fight, and then I will pause at the end of it and kind of talk a little bit, maybe rewind the footage to give you guys an idea of what they could have done differently here to give them a better chance to win the fight. So I'm rotating in here. This person clearly rotated out of a fight, by the way. So I have in my mind, they might be low. It seems like they're rotated out of a fight. I don't know if they're out of mana or whatever, but I have boulder up. So I toss a boulder, I connect. I'm going to try to hit a few fireballs here. I miss one. I whiff one on the Frost Lance, hit another one, and then pop send back to the lobby. Now, this is a real short fight. It may seem like, oh, that was unlucky, I rotated into them. I got the first shot. And it is true that I started my time to kill timer before they started theirs, but they had options here. If we back up the fight a little bit, there is a moment right here where they know that they're fighting someone, at the very least, whether or not they know I'm a Stoneshaper, they know I have a Stone Gauntlet, right? There is a point at which they're levitating where they could have levitated right here. Right here. They could have levitated forward and actually set themselves up for it to maybe at least get a frost shot, or at the very least be able to dodge my fireballs. They chose not to. And then they levitate again, right? So they clearly had plenty of mana. This is part of the same levitation, right? But, at this point, they're trying to get a shot on me. Even if they had gotten one shot on me here, they still would have been very behind in this fight because they ran out of mana when they land. So if you're going to use your mana like that, you really need to get value out of it. And that's the big change I think this person could have made in this fight. And that could have at least given them a chance to have 2 to 3 more exchanges with me, because this is very not ideal for a Stoneshaper. So again, the first P in the 3 Ps of fighting Stoneshaper: positioning, positioning, positioning. They needed to take better positioning first. That is what they should have been using their resources for. It's possible, not having a rune can set you behind here, but clearly they had the mana, right, to be able to at least try, maybe mana plus sorcery hover to get up there. And they didn't do it, and it cost them the fight. So again, position here would have helped. Definitely would have helped. Okay, so this is going to be fight 2 and actually fight 3. There's a very short third party that I get at the outset of this fight, but I really want to focus on fight 3. One, because I'm going to be against a Pyromancer, which honestly on paper is the worst matchup, particularly early game for Stoneshapers. Pyromancers get a lot of pressure for almost for free. They get if you're running Common Fire and with Ignite, the Ignite benefit you get from Combust on drop, they get a 32% damage mod on me, literally by doing nothing other than hitting their fireballs. So mentally here, I already have set myself up for the fight by seeing fire, about the kind of methods I have to use in order to put myself in the best position to win. But you'll see as we get into this fight, this is going to be a real just heart-wrenching third party here. He gets popped with a fireball. At this point, the other player in the fight, the third fight that's about to begin, he knows at the very least he saw a boulder and he saw a fireball, right? So he knows I'm running Stone Fire. He doesn't know whether I'm Pyromancer with Stone offhand or Stoneshaper with Fire offhand. Either way, he knows he has to deal with the Stone Gauntlet. So immediately, if you're this person when you're rotating in, the very first thing you should be thinking about is that first P. That first P, again, positioning, positioning, positioning. So this player rotates in, and he just starts trading with me. There's a big opportunity for him to change the sort of the statistical outcome of the fight by rotating to high ground here. He chooses not, for whatever the reason, to back up and take high ground and force me to use my offhand. He knows if he saw the boulder that my boulder is on cooldown for at least another second or two. He can force me to use my rune, he can force me to use my offhand cooldown, and just force me to use my offhand spells in general. Changing position here is a value exchange. You spend a little bit of mana to force me to dump a lot of resources in order to keep up the pressure. So that's the first mistake this player made here. They really should not be trying to fight me on a flat surface. They choose to do that anyway. Mistake number 2, they give me a firewall. So I'm sure in their mind they're like, I need to use a sorcery. I need to, to get a dot on this guy. They want to ignite me, and ignite is very strong. Firewall is arguably the best sorcery in the game. Honestly, there's an argument to be made for probably Tox Cloud here, but firewall has so much utility. And in this case, it really did them a disservice, because when you give a Stoneshaper a firewall, this is what you get in return. He got hit with a shockwave and got ignited too as a result. So there's flames on the shockwave. It gives you extra damage, or gives me extra damage as a Stoneshaper. So he used a cooldown basically to lose more life. And that's just not great. Do not use flame walls on a Stoneshaper unless you're using it to secure the kill. But my health is so high at this point that it really just wasn't worth the exchange. And then he chooses to Firefly right into me, as opposed to potentially using Firefly to reposition. So there was just a lot wrong going on with this decision. And as we go through the rest of the fight, we have a couple exchanges here. I kind of trade a couple fireballs, and then the final mistake this person makes was levitating anywhere near their Tox Cloud, and this is where I get the kill shot. He gets dragon fired for the win. So this is, again, another clinic in positioning. I didn't really have to do much in that fight. I sit pretty where I know I can do the most damage on a flat surface with the Stone Gauntlet, and I have fire offhand to be able to do a little bit more damage when they get melee range and they might be levitating off the ground a little bit. I take a lot of damage in this fight as a result because I'm against the Pyromancer and they really do have a lot of pressure, but I'm fine to do those exchanges because I stay ahead in the fight at every step. So again, positioning in this fight would have helped this player have a much better chance of coming out on top. Fight number 4. This fight won't take too long to talk about. It's actually a fairly quick exchange, but I want to highlight some of the good things that this player did in this fight, but everything falls apart for them sort of towards the end of the fight. Once we start getting this fight, they see I'm running stone right away. They get a free exchange of information here. They don't get hit with a shockwave. They see that I'm running stone. So immediately in their head, they already have information about how to fight me in this fight. They hit me with a great Dragonfire right here. They start their time to kill timer before I start mine. I lose a lot of life here. This goes to the third P in those 3 Ps that we keep talking about, and that is pressure. When you have the opportunity to apply pressure to a Stoneshaper in a fight, when it's safe and free, you need to do so because you don't get a lot of opportunities. And every time you can speed up the fight and you can do so safely, that is a great decision. So this was perfect for them. They have another great opportunity here to reposition, and they do, but they eat a fireball in the process. So this has to be something in your mind. The fight is even right now. I have more health than they do, but in terms of exchanges, we've made sort of inequivalent exchanges, but we both, hit one of our shots. Them with a DF, and I hit a direct fireball. They reposition here, right? And that's great. And then they decide to dash low ground. The reason this is an issue is that at this point, they know I'm running fire offhand. When you reposition on a Stoneshaper, that just translates to forcing Stoneshaper to use their offhand. You don't know what their offhand is a lot of the times unless you have really great vision to see what they have as their offhand gauntlet. In this case, they already know I'm running fire. They've been beamed by one already. The decision I would have made here that was a little different is to use this rock over here and dash behind it. Maybe try to sneak in a pot. Force me to burn some mana to get over to you. Maybe burn a cooldown, right? You need to get value out of your dash. All this dash did was change levels, which is really free for me if I end up hitting my fireballs. So in this case, I didn't end up hitting their fireballs. They're probably running Runic Fluency here, obviously, because they got a second dash out of it. But now I know they have no cooldowns as a Stoneshaper. They didn't use that second dash to try to reposition on high ground here. They eat a boulder. Now this is just free for me. They had runic fluency and chose not to use it to change position here, go LOS behind a rock, or potentially reposition over here. This is pure positioning failure. All you had to do was change, do what they were doing, changing levels, which is great. Like they had great instincts for popping their movement runes, but they were not getting maximum value out of it. So again, this goes back to the first P again. You're going to hear me harping this again and again and again. Positioning. So if they had changed levels here, you never know. They might have been able to score a few shots on me and turn the fight in their direction. Okay, so for this final sequence of fights, this is going to be a little bit more fluid because there's one fight after another, a lot of third and fourth party, and even a fifth party, I believe, at one point come through to challenge me. And we see a lot of the same positioning issues that we talked about before, but also some moments where patience and pressure could be applied because there are points at which I get low. So let's we're going to try to talk through this as things happen, just to make this as sort of expedient as possible. So I'm finishing up over that last fight. You know, we just watched. Fireball gets thrown my way. I have a really poor exchange here where I dump a lot of mana, miss a bunch of shockwaves. Ostensibly, I'm behind in the mana management fight here, but you know, I'm doing okay in terms of HP. I have about 160 HP, so not doing too poorly. They get a lightning strike here, and then they immediately eat 2 shockwaves. Like at this point, obviously they're in a lot of trouble. Even with 1 shockwave, they would have been in trouble. They had a really poor belt. This is where I want to talk about patience. When you're rolling up on a fight, right, especially this far into the game, you have to assume people have some sort of loot, right? This person, if we back up the fight just a little bit, you'll see when I do damage to them that they really do not have the same caliber of loot. You'll see as soon as I hit the shockwave on them initially, right here, they had a white belt. And at that point, it's, you know, you made the decision to engage this fight, you being, you know, the player. This is just a complete misplay. If you have a white belt this far into the game and you're engaging a fight, you're taking a huge risk. This is where patience comes in. Patience. Take the time to be like, I can't take this fight. I have no loot. Or, you know, as soon as you get the lightning strike on me and you see how much HP I have, which was just a couple seconds before this, that's when you should dip. Use your movement to get out, maybe use your class skills to get out. Like at this point, they're in a lot of trouble and they're going to eat, you know, the 2 shockwaves in a row, boulder, and then they're done. So there is a lot of patience that could have been exhibited there, as well as better positioning. You know, if you're going to push me with a fireball, take a good position, hit me with a fireball, hit me with a lightning strike, and then at least when you have the high ground, you have ability to get away from me when you realize that, hey, I'm really already behind in this fight because he has way too much HP. So I get third partied again. I get an opening shockwave. They pop their invis rune, and then this is the 5th party at this point. The person who's invis dipped, right? Right here is a really important point that I wanted to make. I was in no immediate danger. The reason I popped the flight rune to disengage wasn't to run from the fight. It was to reset the fight. I really wanted to hit that window, but you know, I flew like an idiot with my forehead right into the castle. But you have to adapt. And what you'll see me do here is break line of sight and start to heal. Right? So these are the things that you can be doing. I do this just generally in all these fights that you'll see me, whether it's against a Stoneshaper or whatever, but this is incredibly important against a Stoneshaper because they have such high burst. If you take the time to reset the fight, you can get a lot of value mid-combat potting. So in this case, you know, I'm not incredibly low, but I know in my mind that I had 1 person invis already, right? I'm facing another person that had high ground on me, so I forced the reposition at this point. And as we continue the fight, you notice that they decide to apply pressure here. This probably wasn't a good idea. They gave up their position to fight me, right? Now they're fighting me in an open field, which is a Stoneshaper paradise. Notice that when I popped my flight, I didn't leave the fight. I didn't try to reset levels here or anything like that. He is exactly where I want him to take this fight. So I brought the fight here. The first flight let me reposition to a place that was more advantageous and let me heal because I could break line of sight. And it's also a great place for me to fight. You need to do the same thing to the Stoneshaper. You need to force them to fight you in a place that's advantageous for you and disadvantageous for them. So as we go on through this fight, I already see somebody in the background tossing tox clouds. And we eliminate somebody else. Now, because I have scavenging, the reason that I'm being as aggressive as I am right now, without necessarily having to dip to pot, is because I know I'm getting heal on kill. I only have 1 point in scavenging, which is an ideal, obviously, for a multi-person fight, but I'm still getting heals without burning my shards. So not only does this help me with my in-combat sustain, this also helps me with pot economy for the end of the game. You'll hear a lot of people complain about, I can't find pots at the end of the game. Consider taking scavenging if you're having problems with that. This is just a side note, not directly related to fighting Stoneshapers. But that's something I want to note here about why I remain so aggressive and I don't reset right after the fight. This person, again, is making the classic mistake that we've seen all round, which is just not taking position on the Stoneshaper. Someone takes a frost shot at me. I'm in really no danger at this point, so I keep looting. And I break line of sight. To pot. This may seem really obvious, like that I say it out loud right now, but so many people don't do this, where they try to pot in the open while they're moving and they don't try to like hide themselves. This isn't the greatest, spot in the world. There are some shockwaves that could potentially hit me here at the right angle, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to get frost shot from here. I'm not going to get wind sheared from here, so I'll be able to get this big pot off. All right, this last fight is going to be. I'm not showing you all 16 fights because later on in the match, you'll see that most of the fights have the same theme, exactly the same theme. People applying pressure at the wrong times. People not exhibiting patience, people not exhibiting good positioning. This is a good example of this next fight. It's very, very quick, and you might think the person is incredibly unlucky at this point, just because I roll up on them with full health and I obliterate them. But there are things they can do here. I want to use this as an example to say that you're never out of a fight. As soon as you get hit by this combo here, you need to disengage. Ostensibly, this person has a rune cooldown up, which you see them use right here. And that's great. So this is a great example of someone that was able to reposition, but potted out in the open. So we just talked about potting out in the open, about how that's a bad idea. They did not use their terrain at all. They didn't take line of sight behind a ledge. They didn't even go behind these boxes, and they could have. They had a flight rune. Chances are I might have seen them, but I 100% could laser them out here. And when you're potting, your movement speed is reduced, so it just goes poorly. Yeah, no matter which way you slice this. So this video is just a very, very, very basic video. All of this fight analysis might sound pretty brain dead to all y'all. It's like, of course, this is what you do. But I'm telling you as someone that has been playing this game for a very long time. At the time of this video, over 1,600 hours in this game, and roughly like 100 hours or so since release. All new players are doing this. Every single round, I get people doing this. So if you're a new player and you're fighting Stoneshapers and you're playing like this, just know that there's very, very, very easy, small, digestible, actionable things that you can do to increase your chances of beating Stoneshapers. And I can say this as someone that fights against this all the time. When you have someone that's actively changing levels and I'm burning lots of cooldowns, a lot of times I'll back off from fights because I'll be wary of the third party. So you can buy yourself a lot of time from smart players who know that if they dump all their cooldowns and they dump all their spells and their mana to try to chase you and eliminate you, they likely can get obliterated by the next person that rolls through. So smart players actually try to avoid engagements like that oftentimes. You're always going to get the aggro player that doesn't do that. And there's certainly a lot of them right now in Spellbreak. But again, the things I want you guys to remember are positioning, patience, and pressure. Always, always, always taking good position, knowing when to be patient, and knowing when to apply pressure. In all of these fights, there was never a moment that any of these people were safe enough to apply pressure, and they tried to. And that is the main lesson that I want you guys to take away from this, is that applying pressure without position is almost always a bad idea against a Stoneshaper. So that's the analysis for this video. We'll be doing some more intermediate and advanced videos for fighting Stoneshaper. We'll talk about classes and builds and some movement tech that can really help you in the Stoneshaper fight. But I wanted to give people sort of a more macro game sense level of detail in this particular analysis to help you win the fight against Stoneshapers. So thank you all for being here for this. And if you have any questions, please, you can ask me directly. I'll be happy to help you clap me in these lobbies. What's up, YouTube? Dirty Tiger X here. Just a reminder that you can catch me live on Twitch playing Spellbreak 7 nights per week at twitch.tv/DirtyTigerX. Check out the link in the description and come say hi sometime.